We are wrapping up our conversation tonight about the transgender bills making their way through the state legislature at this time. Dahron Johnson has been my guest tonight from the Tennessee Equality Project. Taking some phone calls. We have one more to get to here. Mike, you have the floor. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, I'm sorry that you were born and you weren't capable of your inner spirit connecting with your outer body. But your outer body, as a male, has bigger lung capacity, larger muscles, and it's really not fair to the rest of the women, females, real females of the world, that you could compete against them, and especially in the swimming or any other sport, and you could potentially ruin all of women's sports and make it where there's no women's sports whatsoever. And I'm sorry that you don't feel connected with your inner spirit, with your outer body, but that's the way God made you. And if you want to ruin women's sports and run them into the ground, I don't think that's the way to go. If you want to say, let's have a transgender place in sports, go for it, but not the way you're doing it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mike, for calling. I certainly know that you have heard Mike's perspective before from others. How do you respond to that?
Well, certainly I appreciate him being invested enough in sports to be concerned about them. As concerned as I am, right? We're both interested in making sure that the fields of play, whatever they are as fair as possible. On the specifics, I would say that comparing capacity gets us into a trickier area than it might at first appear, because my body has changed quite a bit. Right, and so the capacities that I had previously are not the same as they were before. I've been doing, cyclists. I think any type of endurance athlete is really obsessed with numbers, right? So I've been measuring power output and what I'm capable of over various time frames and so on for honestly about 25 years now, and I've really been able to see quantitatively the changes that have occurred over the course of my transition. So I would say there's a little bit of a trickier case there than it might at first appear. And then if you ask just folks that know me, right, or have known me for a while, and talk about the way that my fat has shifted. We're going to really have to talk about, it's body stuff, right? But I mean, the fact that I have more hips than I used to, right? Or that the fat in my face has changed, or I'm having to deal about that pooch a little bit more than I used to, right? Those are all go along with the type of hormonal changes that I've been experiencing for a few years now. And with that then is also performance changes. So I would say that saying, well, old guy drag me was capable of this, and you bring all of that ability into sports, I'd say, well, no, probably not, as a matter of fact. And then I would say on the broader point of lifting up and making sure that women's sports not just remains viable, but continues to grow, continues to thrive, I'm all aboard that goal. Again, as I was saying in conjunction with one of the earlier questions, right? These are the fields I'm participating in. We were joking about me announcing, right? Earlier, I announced some of cycling events around the area as well. I want all of those to be good races. I want some good old competition out there, whether I'm participating or volunteering or helping organize those events, right? I just want them to be good, fair competition between all of those folks out there participating. And I have the personal experience in a way that has not been brought forward by anybody else, including those bringing forward this legislation, including those testifying for this legislation. None of those folks is actually talking about participating in sports with a trans female athlete or against a trans female athlete. This was even admitted on the Senate floor, that the senator bringing forward the bill had not had any conversations with trans female athletes and had no incident that he could point to since the legislation passed last year that necessitated broadening it to discriminate against even more people. The truth of the matter is we're just out there trying to make the most of our bodies as much as every other competitor towing the line.
Yeah. Well, I certainly have appreciated this hour-long conversation. I think as we spoke earlier, conversations are always beneficial no matter where you stand. When you can have that conversation with someone who is knee-deep in the stuff, you can learn. So thank you for being part of the show tonight.
Well, thank you so much for allowing me to come and allowing me to be part of this conversation. It's been great.
Glad to do it. When we come back, we will wrap things up. Stay with us.